Hello and welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to take a look at some classic toys. These plastic dinosaurs, cavemen, and the Battle Mountain from Timmee Toys. Timmee Toys started out as a division of processed plastic back in 1948. Over the years they made a wide variety of plastic figures and vehicles: dinosaurs, cavemen, classic army men, trucks, tanks, fantasy and science fiction characters. These are the type of toys that you'd find in spinner racks of inexpensive toys at grocery stores, drugstores, and department stores. And these cheap, monochromatic plastic figures were a big favorite of mine during my childhood. One of the great Timmee toy sets that you could find in the 70s and early 80s was the Dinosaur Mountain, which included a wide variety of dinosaurs and prehistoric creatures, cavemen, and a big plastic mountain play set for them to do battle on. Classic army men and dinosaurs, cavemen, things like that are common sights at thrift shops. And it's not hard to find the classic Timmee dinosaur and caveman molds. I found all of these and much more in different bags of dinosaurs at thrift shops. And they're usually quite inexpensive to purchase. The original Timmee toys went out of business in 2005, and their intellectual property was held by a company called J. Lloyd International. In 2011, the company Victory Buy began working with J. Lloyd International to reissue many of the classic Timmee toys. And they were made available through Victory Buy's website, as well as several different online outlets like Amazon. Among the classic Timmee figures that have been reissued by Victory Buy are the Legendary Battles figures to your left, which I spoke about in a previous video, as well as the Galaxy Laser Team figures to the right, which I will talk about in a future video. Among those reissues were the contents of that classic Dinosaur Mountain playset. The dinosaurs here that are molded in yellow and in olive green, and the cavemen here that are molded in tan and red, as well as that classic Battle Mountain playset that you see in the center. This is the tan version of the mountain. It's also been done in gray and in brown. At one time, Victory Buy was selling all of these in a complete set, but that has since sold out, so I purchased all of these separately. So let's get these open and start having some dinosaur fun. The classic Battle Mountain measures 15 inches tall. It's got a variety of different horizontal levels that you can put figures on. A big cave in the middle here. There's a couple of small little alcoves. Here, it's got a lot of play potential with those small plastic figures. It is a one-sided set, so there's really no molding on the inside, but still with a little imagination you can make this work, especially this part on the bottom here. You can hide some figures under there. It's just a classic all-purpose toy, and it's not just limited to small plastic figures. People also use action figures with this. It makes a great backdrop for photography. If you guys watch my friend Bob's videos over at the Bob Squad channel, he has a couple of these that he uses quite often in his son Bob Productions, where he uses this as background for action figures and battle scenes, and it works really well. Little plastic dinosaurs, one of my most favorite things in the world, and I'm serious. So we get a nice classic looking header card with all the information. Timmee Toys, 48 pieces, licensed by J. Lloyd, and these are made in the USA. And the back of the card is pretty much the same, and you can see a saber-toothed cat up there. So even though these are labeled dinosaurs, we do have a couple of prehistoric mammals in this assortment as well. Here's the contents of the bag, the 48 figures, and for the most part it's a pretty even assortment. You get at least 4 of each of the different molds. In most cases there are 6, and it's evenly spread between the yellow and the olive green. For the most part these are very clean, and there's not a lot of flashing on them. And when I talk about flashing, for those that don't know the term, this is what I mean. If you can see the end of the tail there, where there's a little bit of excess plastic, where it didn't come out of the mold cleanly, that's what we refer to as flashing. And with these figures, I don't see a lot of that. Let's take a look at the individual molds. Our first dinosaur is, of course, the T-Rex, because you always need a T-Rex. Keep in mind, these molds were made back in the 60s and 70s, so they really do not resemble what paleontologists will tell you looks like a dinosaur today. These actually look like what you'd see in an old movie with a guy in a rubber dinosaur suit. Our next figure would be what fans are calling the Diceratops, because this mold does not have the horn on the tip of its nose. So you really can't call it a Triceratops, because the tri in Triceratops denotes the 3 horns, and this guy does not have the 3rd horn. Here's the Ankylosaurus, the armored dinosaur. This is very a flat-looking version of it. Kind of looks like a horseshoe crab. Another old staple of plastic dinosaurs, the Brontosaurus, which is an outdated term. It's been renamed the Apatosaurus, but for those of us that grew up in the 70s, he will always be the Brontosaurus. The duck-billed dinosaur. Back in the day, he was called a Trachodon. I think they'd call it a Hadrosaurus today. Another classic, the Stegosaurus, whose depiction has not changed all that much over the decades. The fin-back dinosaur, the Dimetrodon, whose actual existence predates all the dinosaurs we just saw. He is a favorite on movies and television due to that distinctive fin on his back. And to finish it off, we have 2 prehistoric mammals. Of course, the woolly mammoth. Everyone loves the woolly mammoth. And of course, the classic saber-toothed tiger. Now we have the Cavemen set. Again, 48 pieces, pretty much all the same information that was on the dinosaur card. And on this header card, instead of illustrations, it looks like we have some painted versions of the actual figures in this set. So that is an option for anyone who does tabletop gaming with miniatures and is into painting figures. I would assume that these figures are suitable for painting, if that's something you're into. The cavemen are pretty evenly matched between the tan and the red, and they are all wielding some kind of weapon in an action pose. So either these guys are hunting, or maybe they're waging war on each other. With the 2 different colors, you can separate them into 2 different clans and have them do battle. There are 4 unique molds in this set. First, we have a club-wielding caveman, the classic caveman weapon. This guy is a little more advanced and has crafted himself a primitive hatchet. This guy is a little less advanced and chooses to go with the rock option. If you have nothing else available, you can always just throw a rock. And lastly, we have this Neanderthal who is wielding a giant club. And if this mold looks familiar to you, it's because you may have seen him before in one of my videos. This is a downsized version of the Neanderthal from the Legendary Battles figure set. And as we talked about in that video, this figure started off as a licensed Incredible Hulk figure for a Marvel series that Timmee Toys did. When Timmee lost the license, they remolded some of those Marvel figures into different fantasy figures. And this one was repurposed twice, as a fantasy figure and as a generic caveman. And the battle for Dinosaur Mountain begins. If you're wondering about scale, the Cavemen figures are a little under 2 inches tall. Obviously, these dinosaurs are not in scale with the cavemen, but at least those smaller dinosaurs give them a fighting chance. And when you're a kid with a big imagination, scale seldom matters. You can kind of work with what you've got. This scene does look pretty barren though. I think it needs a little bit of greenery. Plastic trees like this are pretty easy to come by, either in cheap dinosaur or zoo animal sets, or a lot of sellers just sell them individually or in sets. You may be able to find them on either eBay or Amazon. So I picked up a few of these trees to give my scene a little life. That's better. I'd play Welcome to the Jungle here, but my video would probably get flagged. Once you get all these guys out of their bags though, what do you do for storage? Well, I have a couple of ideas. In the kitchen sections of most department stores, you can find plastic containers like this that are meant to hold things like flour, sugar, tea bags, etc. But they're also great for housing small figures and accessories. So in this case, I got one of the larger size containers, and this is able to hold all of the cavemen, all of the dinosaurs, and the trees I purchased as well. And you can drop the header cards in there, and you're good to go. You can also recycle containers as well. This container originally contained some dog treats that my dog enjoyed. Once he was done, I took the label off, cleaned it up with a little Goo Gone. You can also use lighter fluid to get the label off. Cleaned out the inside, and I have repurposed it as a storage container. And this one holds all of my rubber eraser figures. And these are also a great option for storing action figure accessories as well, because we know how many accessories action figures come with these days, between weapons, accessories, heads, hands, etc. Now, over the years, since we've seen playsets like this, we've learned from science that scenes like this probably didn't take place in actual history. Millions of years separated most of these creatures, and dinosaurs were long gone from the earth by the time we saw the first primitive man. But those of us who grew up during the time period that these toys were created know that that is a big lie. Everything we saw on movies and television, and everything we read in comic books told us that dinosaurs and cavemen did exist during the same time period. Valley of the Dinosaurs, Land of the Lost World, The Last Dinosaur, Dinosaurus, Alley-oop, The Land That Time Forgot, The Flintstones. That's all the evidence we need to know that these scenes actually took place in history. So don't let big science gaslight you, my friends. We know the truth. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.